الوزير. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. We understand that your schedule is very heavy and you have a lot of appointments, and you said, okay, I will come and see the ACANU members. Thank you very much. We expect from you a brief and update on the situation on the ground and what the Palestinian Authority is doing right now inside the Palestinian and with the Israeli government and with the international community.
Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to meet again and to address you and to present to you, where we stand, as Palestinian people and government regarding, the events that are happening, in our occupied land. As you are aware, this year marks, the 75th year since, the Nakba catastrophe of the Palestinian people, and the General Assembly will, try to commemorate that, by an event that will take place on the 15th of May in New York in the General Assembly, where the President of the State of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, personally will attend. And we hope that it will be an annual event that will take place in the General Assembly in order for the United Nations system to acknowledge its responsibility vis-a-vis the creation of the plight of the Palestinian people, as refugees, displaced from their own land for the last 75 years. This year also marks the 56th anniversary of the Israeli occupation of the land of Palestine in 1967, West Bank, including East Jerusalem and Gaza Strip. As you are aware, the occupation, according to the international law, should be, a short occupation, but not, an occupation protracted, that, prolonged for 56 years. That occupation has lost its own legality, and as a result, it was very important for the United Nations system to address this particular matter, and for that reason we have really asked the General Assembly to pass a resolution requesting an advisory opinion from the ICJ about the type of regime that Israel has established in the Palestinian occupied territory for the last 56 years. Is it really a regime of occupation? If yes, then that occupation has lost its own legality and has to be ended. If it's really a regime of settlement and colonization, then it's time to end that colonization according to the UN system and UN laws. And if it's really a regime of an apartheid, racist segregation, as B'Tselem has stated, as Human Rights Watch has stated, as Amnesty International has stated, as many other legal experts have stated, rapporteurs, on the human rights in the Palestinian occupied territory, or the investigative committee that really was established by the Human Rights Council. All of them have really agreed that Israel has created a system of apartheid in the Palestinian occupied territory. So we are expecting the ICJ within a specific period of time, to answer such questions and to send that answer back to the General Assembly for the General Assembly to adopt a resolution in order for member states to act based on it. For us, that's really very important. Now, Israel, what encourages Israel to continue committing its own crimes against the Palestinian people is the lack of accountability. There is no accountability when it comes to Israel. Israel has been a violator of international law, has been a country that has committed numerous crimes against the Palestinian people, violating international law, and Israel felt that it really has been treated above the law. There is no system of accountability, when it comes to Israel violations of international law, and respectability to international law, and this has encouraged Israel to continue committing such crimes against the Palestinian people. Israel feels that it has been shielded from, being really questioned or being really accounted for its own crimes, and as if there is a system within the UN system, created by a country or a group of countries, that their intention, their main purpose is really to shield Israel from any kind of criticism, any kind of condemnation, resolutions against Israeli crimes committed against the Palestinian people. And there are a number of countries who have publicly mentioned that their main objective, within the United Nations system, is how to shield Israel from any kind of criticism or even sanctions. We have seen how double standards is being acted within the UN system when countries who have committed equal crimes, like Israel, for a shorter period of time, have been really sanctioned, and multiple layers of sanctions being really imposed on them, while Israel, who has been committing crimes against the Palestinian people, occupying their land for 75 years, has been really shielded from any kind of criticism or even sanctions. This double standard attitude and behavior and selectivity by the UN system has to be ended, and that's why we are trying to cry loud and trying to pinpoint to this double standard system that has been applied within the UN, and calling for the end of it. I do believe that there are many countries that they are joining us in fighting against the double standard system within the UN, and we hope that we will be hear the echo of our cry, repeated by many countries within the UN, that they want to put an end to this double standard and to fight it in all ways possible. For us, that's very important. Look, when Israel was created back in 1948, Israel has established a number of governments. The Israeli establishment in the historic land of Palestine was based on the displacement of Palestinians and replacing them by Jewish immigrants coming from Western world, from Europe in particular. And in order for Israel to create, for that forces to create what Israel today, they had to destroy everything that was in existence in Palestine at that time. So massacres were committed against Palestinians. More than 55 massacres were committed back in 1947-48. More than 500 villages were completely destroyed, erased completely there, in order to
can you repeat those figures? I didn't hear them. The massacres.
I'm saying that more than about 55 massacres were committed against the Palestinian people in 1947-48 during that ethnic cleansing system, and in that regard, more than 500 Palestinian villages were totally erased, demolished completely. In order to eliminate that history, that presence of Palestinians in the historic land of Palestine. Since then, Palestinians have been living, most of them as refugees in neighboring countries, including, in West Bank and Gaza. And Israel has been really establishing a number of governments that their aim was to eliminate and to erase completely, the attachment of Palestine to the land of Palestine, and really to create or to impose a new reality that it is more connected to the Jewishness of the land rather than the Palestinianization of that land. Today, what we have in Israel is a new government, which is much worse than what we have seen since 1948. A government that is really the most extremist government, not only according to our own standards as Palestinians, but also according to the standards of Western countries. There are many countries within the West, including, Europe, that they are right now contemplating how to deal or to have any kind of action or reaction to such government. Until today, there are countries and governments that they are contemplating not to have any kind of contact with the Israeli government or with some ministers within the Israeli government. As you are aware, there are ministers within the coalition government in Israel who were condemned by the same Israeli system, legal system, 20 years back, of terrorist organizational, participation, terrorist ideologies, and terrorist, behavior and attitudes. These individuals, 20 years back, they were considered to be terrorists according to Israeli legal system. Now they are ministers in the Israeli coalition government. So they are taking advantage of, the system that they are ministers within the government in order really to commit the same terrorist atrocities and crimes that they used to commit as outlawed terrorists 20 years ago, now as backed by the legal system and backed by their position as ministers in the Israeli government. We are talking about, in particular, about Ben Gvir. We are talking about Smotrich and others who dared to stay and to say, publicly that their intention is really to inject harm to the Palestinians, to burn Palestinian villages completely, to displace Palestinians, and to kick the Palestinians out of the occupied Palestinian territory, in particular West Bank, including East Jerusalem and the Gaza Strip. What has happened 2 days ago, in Hawara, is a reflection of that. Is the repetition of the catastrophe and the Nakba of the Palestinians back in 1948. As if we are revisiting that again. In 2023, revisiting what happened in 1948. You remember we talked about massacres. We talked about erasing complete villages. And it seems that what we have seen 2 days ago in Hawara is the repetition of that, with the same ideology, the same thinking, with different personalities taking advantage of the law in their hands. We have seen how Palestinian houses were torched while Palestinians inside such houses. We have seen how cars were torched. We have seen how settlers, were rampaging everywhere, using their personal guns, that they were encouraged by such ministers like Ben Gvir and Smotrich to carry their personal guns and to shoot, to kill, innocent Palestinian civilians. We have seen that happening. And even to a point where many Israeli politicians came out publicly and called it by their name, that these actions are terrorist actions committed by Jewish terrorists who are intending to destroy the so-called Israeli democracy from within. But of course, while destroying the Israeli democracy from within, they are, in their way, they are killing more Palestinians. They are, torching Palestinian homes, and they are really confiscating Palestinian land and creating more facts on the ground and displacing Palestinians. So that's really what's happening. We do see that this really requires from the international community to take action, immediate action, by providing, international protection to the Palestinian people. We, the Palestinians who are living under the Israeli military occupation, do believe that, Israel as an occupying power, according to international law, has to provide, protection and security to the people under their occupation. Israel has failed to do so as an occupying power, and as a result, the international community has to provide its own protection to the Palestinian people. This is really very important. Now, when we talk about, trying to question what the Israelis are doing in terms of accountability, and it is very clear that the international community has refrained from really question Israel for their crimes committed against the Palestinian people. And this, action has encouraged Israel to continue committing crimes against our people for the last 75 years. It's very clear that even Israel itself is not really questioning their settlers, the behavior of their settlers. If the settlers are rampaging, if the settlers are shooting Palestinians to kill, if the settlers are torching Palestinian homes, and cars, if the settlers are uprooting Palestinian trees, and if the settlers are attacking even Israeli soldiers, as it happened 2 days ago, still the Israeli system is refraining from acting in order to question such behavior, and from, of course, condemning the attitude of such behavior by the terrorist settlers, in Hawara and everywhere in the Palestinian occupied territory. For that particular reason, we have addressed the ICC, the International Criminal Court, asking the ICC to take its full responsibility and to open an official investigation into the crimes committed against the Palestinian people by Israeli individuals, being soldiers, being really settlers, being really judges, being really politicians, or lawmakers. All of them, they have committed crimes against the Palestinians. All of them, they constitute part of the enterprise of occupation that Israel has established since 1967 really onward. And for us, that's really very important. We keep, our contacts with the ICC in order to see that the ICC really moves swiftly, in that direction, and starts its own official investigation against such crimes that they are ongoing and did not really stop at all. To the contrary, they have accelerated and they have really multiplied in terms of number and in terms of gravity. And also, as I've mentioned at the beginning, also we have asked the ICJ to provide, its advisory opinion about, the type of system, about, the continuation of the occupation and the legality of such occupation. And we are right now asking all member states of the UN system to also to encourage them to make written submissions to the ICJ before the deadline that was really established by the court, which is really the 25th of July. We hope that many countries who do believe in international law, who refuse to accept that there are countries who continue violating international law, that they will rally behind such approach and really contribute positively through their written submissions to the ICJ. We do encourage all countries to do so, and I will be addressing all countries in that manner, advising them, asking them to be part of such an effort, collective effort, through the ICJ, in order really to put an end to this behavior of Israel as an occupying power for the last 56 years of the Palestinian occupied territory. We as Palestinian government, State of Palestine, we will continue approaching the UN system. Today there is a closed session of the Security Council in order to discuss the gravity of the situation in the Palestinian occupied territory, the crimes that are committed by settlers and by soldiers alike, and the need to consider international protection to the Palestinian people. At the same time, we will continue our effort for full membership to the UN system, and we will continue, asking the international community to help us in order to achieve that, the sooner the better. I will stop here in order really to give you the opportunity to ask questions, and for me also to answer and to clarify issues that was part of my introduction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wazir. Excellency, and first question, Muhammad Iqbal, Anadolu News Agency, Turkey.
Thank you, Minister. Mohammed Iqbal from Turkey's Anadolu News Agency. As you mentioned, in the occupied West Bank, there happened an unprecedented mass settler attack on a Palestinian village, like Wara last Sunday. Israel army is criticized for not just only intervening to stop this attack, but also using force against Palestinians. Israel police announced that only 8 people are detained and 6 of them released. What is the latest in the investigation about this mass attack?
Look, the Israeli army behaves always, to provide protection to the such crimes committed by, settlers. Settlers, they are not, behaving, outside of the whole system. I think, settlers, they are an important, fundamental contributor to the whole occupation enterprise. And settlers, they are assigned certain, mission to be fulfilled. And that mission, complement the mission of the army, occupation army, the mission of the judiciary system, the mission of the lawmakers, within the parliament, Knesset, and others. Each one, assigned certain mission, and they try to fulfill such mission. So the settlers, they are not, behaving on their own. To the contrary, they are fulfilling, assigned mission that they have to fulfill. And obviously, every time that they rampage, every time that they attack a village, in Palestinian occupied territory, the Israeli army and soldiers, they try to protect them while they are attacking Palestinian targets. And the moment that the Palestinians, come out in defense of themselves and their properties, when the army intervenes in order really to provide protection to the settlers and to attack the Palestinians and to detain them. What you have said, in terms of detaining 8 settlers and then releasing, 6 of them, this is really a reflection that, the whole issue is a camouflage. The whole issue is intended just to show that, there was a detention processes, but in reality, the next day, all of them, if not the majority, they have been really released. I have a big question mark. I doubt very much that the Israeli enterprise of occupation, the system itself, will take any kind of action against such settlers. To the contrary, they act according to a plan. And they are protected while they are performing such plan. So in no way they will be investigated. In no way they will be detained. and in no way they will be, taken to court. This is really contradictory to what we have seen, contradictory to what we have learned over 56 years of continuous occupation. So, we believe that the settlers are performing, certain assigned tasks, and this is really a part of such enterprise that intends to displace and replace, Palestinians, trying really to revisit what has happened, 75 years ago, in terms of trying really to bring fear among the Palestinians by attacking, isolated villages, burning their homes, shooting at them, hoping that this might, force Palestinians, to live on their own will. But of course, what has happened back in 1948 will never be repeated, in 2023.
Thank you very much. Riad, please, right.
Thank you, Minister. Just a question about the shift in the Israeli government. You said it has been sort of the most extreme ever. I'm just wondering if that fact and also the projected reforms to Item 7 might lead more people here at the UN and the Human Rights Council to criticize Israel. I'd be interested in hearing your views on that, if you feel like there's a sense that this needs to be raised now, and also your expectations for the hearings in Geneva in March and what the final goal might be for those. Thank you.
Look, we are not, a fan of bringing, items to the Human Rights Council agenda, for the sake of bringing items. We were compelled as a result of, the crimes and atrocities committed by Israel, that such item should be, put on the agenda, as a permanent item, in order really to highlight the gravity of crimes that are committed by the Israeli occupation against, the Palestinian basic fundamental rights. As long as there is an occupation and as long as crimes are really committed, then Item 7 will stay. To the dislike of few countries who came, intentionally back to the membership of the Human Rights Council in order really just to eliminate Item 7 or even to prevent member states, from participating in the discussions of Item 7. Item 7 is there, as long as Israel is singling out itself as an occupying power, singling out itself as is as a country that is committing crimes and atrocities against the Palestinian people. It's not out of nowhere that B'Tselem came out with its reports, or the Human Rights Council, or Amnesty International, or all other countries to that level. It's not out of nowhere that countries until this moment are questioning what kind of relationship they want really to create or to establish with current coalition government in Israel, and in particular with ministers like Ben Gvir and Smotrich. It's very obvious that that crimes are being really committed, and when Israeli politicians like Lapid, like Gantz, and many others who are naming events that they are taking place right now in the Palestinian occupied territories, in Hawara and other places, as terrorist acts, then obviously we have to name things by their name. Terrorism is being really acted by terrorist organizations, by terrorist individuals, Jewish individuals who are committing terrorism against Palestinian people. And as a result, this issue has to be addressed, swiftly, clearly, and strongly by the international community, and not to wait for, Israel to react to that, on their own. That's very important. Obviously, we have 3 resolutions pending the discussion in the deliberations of the Human Rights Council. Two resolutions are being really presented within item 7 and one resolution within item 2. And obviously, you know, our ambassador here has tried his best in order really to reach clear understanding and comprehension among all member states of the Council to the gravity of the situation and to the importance of such resolutions to be presented. And we are very hopeful that this time, because of the gravity of the situation in the Palestinian occupied territory, that, you know, the majority, if not all, member states of the Council will vote in favor of such resolutions. The two in the item 7 and one in item 2.
Thank you very much. I will go online and take a question from Yuri Aperle, in Mosty, Russia.
Good morning and thank you for the briefing. My question is, what is the Palestinian side waiting from Russia, on the Russian side, to help in this situation? And the second question is, why do you think there is such a difference between the treatment of the situation in Ukraine and the situation in Palestine and in the West Bank by the international community and especially by...
You know, it's very clear that, you know, there is a position by the United States of America and other Western countries not to touch Israel, you know, and to provide it with a clear shield from any kind of criticism, despite, you know, the continuous violations and crimes committed by Israel against Palestinian people and the violation of international law. There is a special treatment to Israel that such special treatment is not being given to any other country. And so it's not the matter that, you know, it is really called Russia. It could be any other country with different name, as long as that name is not Israel. That really reflects, you know, the double standard when it comes to this particular matter. Obviously, maybe this really has, you know, in addition to, what United States of America, how they look at the Russian Federation, and in what way, you know, they want to limit the ability and the capability of Russian Federation in terms of its own influence internationally and within the UN system. At the end of the day, you know, what we are facing here is a double standard, and I do believe that, you know, it's not only Russian Federation, it's not only Palestine, but many other countries might be on on the waiting list to be also treated in the same manner if some of these countries believe that their turn has come in order really to inflict damage or to impose sanctions on them. So, in order really to take preventive measures, it's very important that such countries in advance to start thinking about ways how to combat double standard system that exists within the UN, and to see how we can not only combat the double standard behavior and system, but also to try to eliminate it completely from the deliberations and the discussions and resolutions that are passed, within the UN system. This is really for us is very important, and I hope that Russia will join us, in such thinking, and try really to find, a stronger, platform and of countries that are willing to take the extra mile in trying really to eliminate such discriminatory behavior and system within the UN.
Thank you very much. Back to the room, and Gabriel, please. Sotomayor, process on Mexico.
Mexico, yes, thank you very much. Sorry I've been so late because it was so difficult to find the room. My question is on you mentioned that this government is more extremist than the others. So my question is, what do you fear could be their next move against your people?
Well, we have seen symptoms of that, signals and indications exactly 2 days ago, when the settlers in the thousands, they rampaged everywhere within Hawara, burning houses, burning, trees, burning, cars, and burning people inside such houses. So it's very clear that, the idea is to commit massacres. The idea is to erase villages, completely. The idea is to displace Palestinians out of their homes and out of their land. This is really the objective, the strategic objective. And one of the Israeli Knesset members, came publicly. I forgot his name. I think it was Well something. That he said that I want to see Hawara being burned completely, erased completely from the map. How to do that? He is encouraging, settlers to rampage, to torch, to burn, and to kill. That really compelled, other politicians like Lapid to come forward and to make, a tweet by saying that, such individual, such Knesset member is advocating terrorism. And, for that particular reason, action has to be taken against that person. So what we are seeing right now is signs of terrorism being committed against Palestinians, signs of atrocities, and the gravity of it is beyond, acceptance, and that, they want really to revisit what has happened back in 1947-48, when they have really committed, massacres and have erased, hundreds of Palestinian villages completely from existence. So yes, I do believe that that thinking is correct. No, that's the name of the party, Otzma Yehudit, sparks government crisis after boycotting.
Minister, what you are saying is that incitement of hatred, it's increasing?
Of course it's increasing, not only, hate. Hate has been always there as part of the Israeli political system, official political system. Hate against the Palestinians, crimes were committed based on hate. But right now, terrorism is being really committed. And there are politicians, lawmakers, who are encouraging such terrorist action from taking place. Why they are encouraging them? Because, two of the terrorists who were condemned 20 years ago, right now they are part of the Israeli coalition government. They are right now ministers in the Israeli government, and officially they are advocating terrorism against, Palestinians. This is really what we are talking about.
Thank you very much. Jamil Shadeh, Brazil.
Yes, Minister. Thank you for organizing this conference with us.
You are organizing it.
Well, you're
Yes, absolutely.
We have seen in Latin America a new constellation of power, with governments that are more pro-Palestinian being outspoken. What do you expect when you talk about the international community coming to your aid? What do you expect from Latin Americans specifically? What do you expect from President Lula specifically? And how much in the element that you spoke about impunity of Israel, how much did Bolsonaro help in this impunity?
Well, more than that they are pro-Palestinian, they are pro-international law, they are pro-justice, and this is really what they are. They are standing for the respectability of the international law and the applicability of international law. And because they are, in favor of the applicability of international law, then automatically they are pro-Palestinians. So it's not that they are first pro-Palestinians and then no. First they are pro-democracy, pro-respectability of international law, and that really makes them pro-Palestinians. That's really very clear. Now, obviously, President Lula, is a man of justice, of international law, and when I met him during his inauguration, he said that that Brazil will stand for justice for Palestine, and it will support the just cause of the Palestinian people, the right of Palestinians to self-determination and to their own independent state. This is really very obvious. That's not really something surprising, to hear from President Lula. President Lula is the one who recognized the state of Palestine during his first tenure, and as a result, many other countries has really followed within Latin America. And so it's very important the return of President Lula to the political scene, in Brazil, will influence very much, the political atmosphere within the continent, and we hope that this will reflect itself in the position of so many countries within Latin America, in favor of justice and self-determination of nations, in particular the Palestinian people. We are counting on that. That's very important. Now, Bolsonaro is part of the past. My intention is to forget about him rather than to remember him.
Thank you very much. Go online and take the question from Ian German. German.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Jan German and I write for a couple of German language media. You were referring to the ICC and you said that you have asked the ICC to open an investigation. Now there are basically 4 categories of crimes within the jurisdiction of the ICC. Which of these categories do you think should be investigated by the ICC?
Well, first of all, the ICC has decided to open an official investigation. The former prosecutor, Fatou Bensouda, before leaving office, she decided to open officially investigation after almost 6 years of preliminary examination of our case and the referral that we have made to the ICC. The new prosecutor, Karim Khan, has been looking into that situation, and we have met with him in a number of occasions. The last one was in Munich, just a couple of days ago, for the Munich Security Forum, and he's taking a very important step in that direction. Obviously, sending a delegation to visit Palestine, appointing a special team to start the investigation, allocating financial and human resources for that purpose. And even himself, is intending, to come and visit Israel and Palestine, during this year. Now, you have said that, the ICC looks into, a number of crimes. Obviously, what we are looking for is the war crimes. This is for sure crime against humanity. Of course, apartheid, and even the new addition, the aggression, crime of aggression, is also applicable in our case. So yes, we are hoping that the ICC, the investigative team, will look into all these dimensions and to see which type of crimes are applicable to the case in Palestine.
Thank you very much. We'll stay online. And next question is Jamie Keaton, Associated Press. Jamie, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Minister. Thank you so much for coming to see us. My question has to do with the recent upsurge in violence in the occupied areas, and I'm wondering. You mentioned the ICC investigation. What is specific the call for the ICC investigation? What is the next step? What can you do beyond that to ensure that there's diffusing of these tensions that could really possibly inflame the situation even worse, civilians against civilians, even more so than we've seen in the past? That's my first question. My second question has to do with what you said earlier about a lot of Western countries that are diplomatically shielding, if you will, Israel. How important is it for the lives of Palestinians? I'm talking about people in Palestine. The people that this diplomatic showdown takes place. In other words, the same countries that may be shielding Israel are also the same countries that are giving hundreds of millions of dollars worth of aid to UNRWA, for example, when many other countries are not. So I'm just wondering, in terms of concrete impact, is the diplomacy more important, or is economic investment and the concerns about daily lives of Palestinians more important? Thank you so much.
Look, it's not really fair to say that there are civilians against civilians, because the Israeli civilians who are residing illegally in the Palestinian occupied territory in the illegal settlements are not civilians. They are military militias. They are settlers who are allowed to carry their own weapon. And they always, use such weapon, to terrorize, the civilian Palestinians, the innocent, unarmed civilian Palestinians. We have seen so many videos where settlers, with their weapon, attacking, civilian Palestinians, shooting them, to kill. And this has been really the case. So talking about civilian versus civilian, it's not really a fair description. It's not really a description. But anyway, yes, the idea is how to diffuse tension. Yes. The first thing, to do is for the Israelis, to respect signed agreements that they have signed with us. Secondly, that, Israel has to refrain from unilateral actions, against the Palestinian people. Naming, incursions into Area A, military incursions, naming, demolishing of Palestinian homes, naming, confiscating of Palestinian land, naming, extrajudicial killing, naming, building illegal settlements, naming, confiscating Palestinian money. These are acts that are illegal. Israel is not only they are doing it, in violation of their signed agreements, but these are, crimes according to international law, and Israel has to stop from doing so. The moment that Israel stops that, the moment that Israel stops building illegal settlements, that stops displacing Palestinian people, replacing them with settlers, that stops, incursions, that stops, violating Palestinian basic fundamental human rights, then of course, the moment that Israel accepts to sit and to restart negotiations with the Palestinians in order to reach an agreement that will end their occupation of the Palestinian land and to allow the materialization of the state of Palestine, then obviously that's the right way for diffusing, tension. Now, obviously, your second question, yes, I agree that, some of the countries who are providing money to UNRWA are the same countries who are providing shields, to Israel and providing impunity to Israel. That's also true. Probably, they are doing that, intentionally they are doing it because, in order really just, to explain that, they are providing shield to Israel, they try to compensate by putting, money to, the Palestinian Refugee Agency, UNRWA. But obviously, when you ask the question, what is really most important is, diplomacy or, investment and economic, contribution and donation. I will tell you, economic and financial donation to the Palestinian people under occupation is not going to end the Israeli occupation. It might really help us improve our living conditions for a while, but it would really change the reality that we are living, under occupation, that we are deprived of our right to freedom and to self-determination. So, with all respect, the whole money of the world is not worth it, when you are deprived of your own freedom and of your own independence. So this is really my answer to your question, where our priority lies.
Thank you very much for that. If I could just, Tamer, if I could just slide in a follow-up on that. The United States has changed its policy, of course, between the last two administrations, from the previous one, which gave no money to UNRWA, to the current one, which is giving more money, including I just wanted to ask you, sort of, if you feel like the Biden administration is a fair broker or a fairer broker or a fairer intermediary right now, just how would you assess the U.S. role in the situation right now?
Look, to answer your question, let me put it in this way. Biden administration is maybe the only administration, U.S. administration in the last maybe 5 or 6 that has refrained from coming up with their own plan for peace in the Middle East. Biden administration is the only administration in the last 5 administrations that did not appoint, a special envoy to the Middle East peace process. So if that tells you something, it's important to see it this way. Well, Biden administration did not reverse, the political steps that Trump administration has taken. For example, when Trump administration closed, the U.S. consulate in East Jerusalem, Biden administration was not able to reopen it. When Trump administration closed, the representative office of Palestine, in Washington, Biden administration did not really reopen it. When Trump administration recognized East Jerusalem as part of the eternal capital of the State of Israel, united capital, Biden administration did not reverse that. So if you think that, Biden administration's money, giving that money to UNRWA might, let us forget about the other important political issues, then, you are done wrong.
Okay, thank you very much. Back to the room. And John Saragossas, France 24 English Service, and he is an expert of international law, by the way.
I also write for The Lancet, the medical journal. My question, sir, is you mentioned about making a push for more international recognition.
Yes.
I recall, I think about 5 years ago, you made a push to become full member of the World Health Organization, and you got a lot of behind-the-scenes pressure to walk away from it. And secondly, your observer status in the World Trade Organization has been dormant now for more than a decade. What initiatives are you likely to take in international organizations in Geneva to enhance your membership? And I have a follow-up question on another item.
Look, we did not stop pursuing our full membership to different international organizations and UN organizations. You are aware, since you mentioned some of these organizations, that there are different conditions for membership, and some of these conditions are attainable, and some of these conditions are not really attainable. So we are looking for what's really attainable, rather than looking for the impossible. This is really one. Number two, we want really to join all these international and world organizations, because we want to be part of the international system. Palestine wants to be part of that system and wants to develop its own legal, political, diplomatic character and authority. And of course, it depends on the willingness of the member states and such organizations to support the application of Palestine and its membership. The moment that we see that that's really available, and then we will move. But as I told you, there are some conditions who are attainable and some conditions are not. The World Trade Organization, how to become member there. And so it is possible for Palestine today to become member or not. This is really a question. Three, some organizations, the moment that you enter into some of these organizations, according to the decision taken by the US administration, that the US will leave such organization. So imagine if we will go to the World Health WHO. What will happen? If the US will leave such organization and stop, contributing to their budget, how this will affect the work of the organization and the programs that such organization is providing to many, needy countries who are supportive of the right of Palestinians to membership in such organization, or the right of the Palestinians in particular. We are not going to harm, the work of such organizations, because we are responsible, party, and we are not going to allow that our membership in any way will harm the work and the services that such organizations are providing to needy countries who are always, in solidarity and in support of the Palestinian people. So we take all these items in consideration when we decide, to approach any of these organizations. But I can really assure you that we did not give up on our quest to become member to such organizations. And right now we are contemplating, our priority, what's easy to start with, and we go later to what's really the most difficult. But maybe in the next couple of weeks and months, you will hear that we are approaching, a number of such organizations and asking for membership. That's for sure.
Now, I've got a follow-up. You mentioned earlier you need the international community to act to limit these violations against the Palestinian people. What exactly would you like to see the international community do, given at the same time you mentioned that the principal Western supporters of Israel would block any action? So what can the United Nations do? Would you like to see a temporary UN peacekeeping force as a buffer between the Israelis and the Palestinians? Is that doable?
Look, no. I go back, to the same kind of answer. We are asking for what's really attainable. We are not really asking for the impossible. Now, obviously, but we should not really shy from saying things, with their own names. First of all, yes, we do ask for protection, and there are many ways how to do protection, inside of Palestine, through the different UN agencies that they are operating inside of Palestine. you could really magnify, you could really increase the missions of such agencies and give them different responsibilities when it comes to this, in order really to preserve, to be present, to report, etc., and to provide protection whenever is possible. Secondly, of course, we should really work very hard to end the impunity of the state of Israel, from being really criticized and sanctioned. Why not really to impose sanctions on Israel? If really the international community is ready to impose sanctions on other countries for doing, things that they are much less than what Israel is doing against the Palestinians for the last, 56 years. Why not? Unless people fear of anti-Semitism, and as a result, they want to hide away from that by avoiding such issue. So sanctions are important. We should really talk openly about boycotting, Israeli settlement products. Not only labeling, Israeli settlement products, but also boycotting Israeli settlement products. We have to boycott everything related to the to settlements, because they are illegal. Not only in terms of boycotting settlement products, but also boycotting settlers themselves, because the whole settlement enterprise is illegal according to international law, and everything is related to settlements, because it's really illegal, should be boycotted, being really products and or being really settlers who live in these such illegal settlements. Such settlers should be prevented from entering into, the national space of all such countries. They have to prevent settlers, because they are violators of international law, because they are committing crimes by being present in the illegal settlements. Also, there are companies that they are operating, in the illegal settlements. Such companies have to walk out away from settlements. Otherwise, they have to be punished, in different ways and in different manners. I do believe that, these are some of the issues that we should really consider. There are countries who are providing weapons to Israel, and Israel is using such weapon to kill Palestinians. This is really a crime, punishable by international law. And so it's very important for countries who are not selling a weapon to countries in Africa or in other continents, should also consider not selling weapon to Israel, because such weapon is really inflicting damage and killing innocent Palestinians. This is really some of the ideas that should be contemplated by the international community, if the international community is serious about really contemplating what kind of action to undergo in order really to provide a type of protection, or to impose sanctions and actions punishable by international law.
Thank you very much. Last question, Ruben, AFP, Agence France Presse.
Okay.
Hello, Minister. 2 points. Firstly, in the Aqaba talks and Israel's promise to stop advancing settlements, what was the Palestinian Authority able to offer in order to secure that? Secondly, what's the current status of security coordination with Israel after the Palestinian Authority said it was going to cut such ties in January? Thank you.
Look, we cannot really offer anything, in order to secure that Israel will stop settlement construction. It is really the countries who asked us to attend the Aqaba meeting should provide the guarantees themselves that Israel will refrain from committing any of these, actions. So I'm talking about United States of America. I'm talking about Jordan. I'm talking about, Egypt. These three countries were present in Aqaba, and they provided, the guarantees that Israel will adhere to such understanding, and that Israel will refrain from committing any unilateral action vis-a-vis, of course, building illegal settlements, confiscating Palestinian land, legalizing the so-called legal outpost, etc., etc., etc. These are the issues. It's not us that we are compelled, to make sure that Israel, is prevented from doing so. It is really the international community who should be keen to see that Israel adheres to such understanding. The problem is, from our experience, Israel is not going to adhere. Israel has signed with us so many agreements, and Israel has violated all such agreements. Israel, does not respect, its own obligation as an occupying power according to international law, and Israel takes advantage that of such impunity. Israel takes advantage that the international community is very weak, to impose any kind of sanctions on Israel, and that's why Israel is taking advantage. So it's very, very clear that Israel is not going to to respect that, but it's right now the responsibility of such three countries who convince us that it's in the sake of the Palestinians to attend the Aqaba meeting, and for that reason we went with such open will to see that progress will be made.
إذا ممكن تعطينا هذا الجواب بس بالعربي لو سمحت.
أي جواب؟
الجواب على هذا السؤال.
أي سؤال؟ أعطيني
موضوع
السؤال عشان
العقبة.
أجاوب عليه.
موضوع العقبة والتزامات إسرائيل بالاستيطان، يعني نتاج العقبة. نفس السؤال ولكن بالعربي. ها؟ بس في تلفزيونات عربية أخرى لازم تأخذ الجواب.
تلفزيونات عربية؟
نعم.
وينها؟ مش موجودة. إذا مش
أخ عربي أنا عربي.
إذا بتحب نسمع جوابك.
لا أنا ما كنت عارف في عربي.
لا
He didn't answer. Sorry, the second question from AFP.
What's the second question?
It was about the current status of security coordination with Israel.
Look, we have taken this decision as Palestinian leadership that there will be no security coordination with Israel as long as Israel, continues with such violation of international law, against the Palestinian people. When Israel committed, such massacre in Geneva, we were compelled, to move very fast. When Israel announced, the construction of 10,000 illegal settlement units in the West Bank, including Jerusalem, and the legalization of 9 illegal outposts, we were compelled to take action. Now, obviously, this action will continue, will stay in force until Israel retracts from the decisions that that it has taken that compelled us, to take this action, in the first place. So it's up to Israel, to decide if there will be any kind of security coordination or not. نرجع لسؤالك.
تفضل. شو يعني النتائج اللقاء العقبة، وهل هناك من ضمانات إنه إسرائيل حتوقف الاستيطان خلال فترة 3-4 أشهر 6 أشهر؟
ما حدث هو أنه منذ 9 سنوات لم يكن هناك أي نوع من الاتصال السياسي والحوار السياسي ما بين الجانبين الفلسطيني والإسرائيلي. دائما كانت إسرائيل تنظر إلى القضية الفلسطينية بمنظور أمني فقط دون أي بعد سياسي. جاء هذا الاجتماع الاجتماع العقبة لكي يضيف للمرة الأولى منذ 9 سنوات هذا البعد السياسي المهم، ونحن نظرنا إليه بهذا المنظار بأنه هذا اللقاء يجب أن يفضي إلى إجراءات وخطوات عملية تفتح أفق سياسي للعودة إلى المفاوضات، لأنه دون ذلك لا حاجة للحديث مع الجانب الإسرائيلي في قضايا أمنية فقط ومحددة بسقف زمني. نحن طلبنا الجانب الإسرائيلي بأن يوقف كل الإجراءات الأحادية التي نعتبرها جرائم حسب القانون الدولي، وإسرائيل ملزمة بوقفها بالكامل. ونحن قدمنا للجانب الإسرائيلي والجانب الأمريكي قائمة من 13 بندا يحدد فيها تلك الإجراءات الأحادية التي يجب على إسرائيل أن توقفها بالكامل. ونحن اشترطنا أن هذا الوقف يجب أن يكون لمدة 6 أشهر من أجل أن يسمح لنا خلال هذه الفترة بالبحث عن إمكانية فتح أفق سياسي لإمكانية العودة إلى تلك المفاوضات. في هذه الفترة إسرائيل عليها أن توقف إجراءاتها الأحادية بالكامل، وثانيا إسرائيل عليها أن تلتزم بالاتفاقيات الموقعة بيننا وبين الجانب الإسرائيلي. الآن وجود تلك الدول الضامنة كما هو الحال بالولايات المتحدة الأمريكية، المملكة الأردنية الهاشمية وجمهورية مصر العربية، كانت هي التي حفزتنا للذهاب إلى العقبة من أجل الوصول إلى مثل هذا التفاهم. الآن نحن لا نثق بالجانب الإسرائيلي، وتجربتنا مع الجانب الإسرائيلي واضحة أن إسرائيل لا تلتزم بأي اتفاقية وقعت معها، ولكن نحن أردنا أن نكشف للولايات المتحدة الأمريكية والمجتمع الدولي حقيقة الموقف الإسرائيلي، بأن إسرائيل لا تلتزم، وهذا ما تم التأكيد عليه في الوقت الذي كانوا يجتمعون فيه في العقبة. وفي اليوم التالي قامت إسرائيل باجتياح مدينة نابلس وبارتكاب مجزرة بحق الفلسطينيين في مدينة نابلس، 11 شهيد بالإضافة إلى مئات الجرحى. كل ذلك يؤكد على مخاوفنا وتوقعاتنا من الجانب الإسرائيلي بأن الجانب الإسرائيلي لن يلتزم، وبناء عليه هذا يكشف للولايات المتحدة والمجتمع الدولي كل هذه الأمور. لهذا السبب اليوم هناك اجتماع مغلق لمجلس الأمن من أجل البحث في كيفية توفير الحماية للشعب الفلسطيني، لأن الشعب الفلسطيني الأعزل الذي يتعرض لموجات من الهجمات من قبل المستوطنين المسلحين المدعومين من الجيش الإسرائيلي والمحميين من الجيش الإسرائيلي، وما شاهدناه في حوارة وفي مناطق مختلفة من الضفة الغربية هو تأكيد على كل ذلك. هذا يستدعي من المجتمع الدولي أن يكون متحفز، من المجتمع الدولي أن يخرج عن صمته، من المجتمع الدولي أن ينتقد إسرائيل، وأكثر من ذلك أن يفكر بفرض عقوبات على إسرائيل لانتهاكها للقانون الدولي ولاستكمال استمرارها في ارتكاب الجرائم بحق الشعب الفلسطيني. هذا ما أردنا كشفه، ما أردنا عمله هو أن يرى المجتمع الدولي حقيقة دولة إسرائيل كدولة احتلال، كدولة جرائم، كدولة إرهاب دولة منظمة.
شكرا.
Thank you very much indeed, Your Excellency, for your time and for this information. We wish you all the best, and we hope that next time we meet with better conditions.
Well, we hope so. We hope so.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
خلاص كمان اتفقنا. انت مشارك.
No, I'm leaving tomorrow. Leaving early tomorrow. Yes. I'm full today.
I hear your voice. Yeah, I was away during 1 month or something like that. So, but nice to meet you. Very nice. Very good question. Very good question. See you around.